Okay, well, let's get into free agency. We've seen a couple of moves. We don't have to spend too much time on them, but a couple of moves done here. Jack Elliott was probably one of the top 3 to 5 free agents out there, and he is already landed in Chicago. Did you see what is he like a TAM or did they give him a DP slot? Do you know?
It, I know it's not a DP.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
It it I'm my guess is because I my guess is he didn't take an extreme pay cut from last season, and he was on like around like 900K, so he was in that TAM region. So my guess is a TAM signing, and Chicago back to back years they hit that TAM free agent because they had Kellen Acosta last year and Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I think that's a great move for Berhalter, and he's on a 1 year contract for 1 year option. So yeah, I think that was a great move out of the gate for Chicago. They knew what they wanted and went after it, and it's a team that didn't really have a leader in that back half of the field.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good start. I know a lot of people were thinking Elliott would follow wherever Curtin went, but obviously he was out for himself, which is great because I think he's going to be a leader for that Chicago team that I think could be a surprising team that fights for a playoff spot this year if they can hit on some more signings.
Yeah, definitely agree with all of that. Moving on to Philadelphia, funnily enough, uh, Alejandro Bedoya re-signs, and you're gonna have to help me with this one as well. You said it was in a player coach or player front office role.
Yeah,
Never even
so
heard of that.
it's like the second year. So now MLS clubs allows one designation a year to like have like a player in a front office role. So like for his specific role, it is. Let me give you the description because I think the Revs just did it recently with Andrew Farrell as well,
Mm,
but he's also titled as he's a player development and front office specialist. So I think it's a new system that they wanted to maybe help some of these vets where they don't want to give them a like allocate a lot of their salary to him anymore, especially because Bedoya's not really a big on-field presence anymore for
right.
Philly. But then it also helps like train some of these MLS veterans to then pick up roles in the league afterwards. Kind of like key people that played in the league and experienced it and can help grow it on the other side of it. Like Chris Henderson, for example, who played for plenty of years in the MLS, like in their early stages of the league founding. So on that side of it, it's cool. It's funny full circle though because I remember like last off season there was a big fight between like Curtin and the front office because Bedoya wanted his money, and Philly said we weren't going to give it to him, and Curtin basically sided with the player and not the club. So that kind of was like one of the beginnings of the downfall relationship. But now he comes back without him. So
Yeah.
yeah, weird role, and he might help out there more than on the field this year because he's age 37. He's not. His minutes are being reduced every year at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, not much there outside of that.
Yep. Okay, other moves we've got are Kyle Smith staying with Orlando. That's not too unexpected. With Atlanta, Tiare and Ronald Hernandez. Is it Jamal Tiare? Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jamal Tira.
he's
Yeah, they
staying with
got both of
Atlanta.
them on like smaller hits now too.
It's awesome.
And yeah, it's quick other ones we can hit on. I saw Alan Valesco signed an extension as a DP for Dallas. Aaron Long signed a 3 year extension for LAFC, which he was rumored to maybe meet up with Berhalter in Chicago, but he stays in LA.
What do you make of the
And
Velasco extension? Because he hasn't done much over the past few years because of injury. I don't know if that's so smart from Dallas.
yeah, it's weird because I feel like Dallas could have. I mean, he's 22, and it sounds like they because they signed him to an extension through 2028 as well. So like they locked him in.
They must really expect him to like fix up and
Yeah,
get going and
because
have a really good couple of seasons.
he had a season-ending injury last year, and I know that his contract was close to up, and he's their club high transfer fee, and he was getting close to his contract, but a lot of clubs in South America are trying to get him back. So it could maybe even just be to the point where we want to get him on an extension so that maybe we can get a season out of him after his injury and then sell him off and actually get like a little bit of return.
Yeah.
So it could be as simple as that, but yeah, it like he hasn't hit. He showed some promise early on, but Dallas also could have had an opportunity to like get rid of Ariola, Ferreira, Valesco, and really start fresh with Quill and try to get a new wave in because it seems like their current project has just stalled out. There's not really much growth in it anymore. Like Peter Musa, like he looked pretty good last year when I saw him. I think maybe got the double digit goals last year, but um, it could be as simple as let's get this guy locked up and let's see if he has a good year and we can move him out because I think he even wants to leave somewhat soon too. Um, so it might be like one of those like help us help you out type thing.
Yeah, definitely. Were there any others that you wanted to call out?
I guess the Aaron Long one's a little bit important just because LAFC they are losing at least as of now, Jesus Murillo. So you don't want to lose like two of your main center backs. And Long, I think he's like 33 at this point. So like this is his last big contract for him, 3 year deal, and um, a team that like kind of fizzled out up top. Long has still been a really good signing for them. So I think that was important to keep him in LA.
All right. Well, staying on the topic of free agents, it's always fun to do a ranking. Do you have a top five or a top three you want to shout out of who are some players that you're looking at that could be good fits for other teams?
Yeah, I drew up some, and I have like a. Let me see. So
Doesn't have to be
I
in
ha-
any order. If you don't have it in
yeah,
an order, we can just kind of
I
call out the
put
five we're looking at.
I put I think I have 8 on a list, but I have like 3 that I just think could be like good impact guys that are gonna have a lower cap hit, but like they can still provide like good um depth. I think I only have 7 actually, but I said Fafa Picault is always like a little underrated. Like I think he can fit anywhere on any roster and like be like either a super sub or like a third attacker on the wing. Alex Ring, who of course won't have a DP contract anymore, like he's out of Austin, and I think that he could provide a lot for a team. And same with Joao Paulo, he kind of fall off for Seattle a little bit, injuries, but I still think that he could sign, if not cheap back to Seattle, he could sign with a team in a lot of competitions and provide minutes because he was a great player for Seattle for a few years, and I don't think he's fully done yet. So there's like the 3 like honorable mentions I want to shout out, but the other ones I wanted to call out were Jesus Murillo. Funny enough, I just talked about him. I think he's still a good center back. I could see a team that is having an overhaul in their back line that really needs to help a team like San Jose, even like or a team New England's already filled in, but like DC, even like teams that need to kind of shore up their back line. So maybe Murillo could be an option for him. Him trying to get his last payday. Um, as well. Another one from LAFC, actually, Ilya Sanchez on a big cap hit, but he's getting up there in age. He's like 35, 36 now. But we saw Atlanta with Dax McCarty last year. He wasn't always on the field, but some of those guys that just, there's like guys who can play as a 6 or an 8, like they're pretty valuable to have on your team, especially because Dax was a big reason why we even passed Miami. He just, when you need that veteran experience in like playoffs, I personally would go after Ilya. Albert Rusnak I have on the list, but it sounds like he's going back to Seattle on a DP deal. And then the last 2 I have on the list are two strikers. One of them very close to my heart, Joseph Martinez. I think he's going to stay in the league. I just don't know where because it's like that weird. He's at the weird middle ground in his career where you don't want to give him DP money anymore because you don't know if he's going to be fully fit and he's not what he used to be. Um, but then also, I think he's still trying to get his money like fair enough for him. So it's like that awkward spot. I don't know what team. I thought Montreal was a great fit, a team that doesn't really want to spend, and they kind of like allocate a good amount to him. But then another striker I have leaving San Jose, Jeremy Ibosier. He's a pretty solid player. Like I don't. It's always tough when you're that like tier below the designated player because I know a lot of teams want to allocate those DP spots to a striker. So when you're like that TAM striker, there's not many teams around the league that want to build around that TAM striker. But I think he could be very reasonable for a team that can afford him and fit him um, in the team. I thought he provided great years for Portland and just kind of fell out of favor in San Jose. But he's still very young. He's on the good side of 30, so I think he's going to be one of the bigger names. I could see him end up in an Austin. I know they bought out Zardes and they still need a striker, but I think they could go after a DP instead. So it's always tough to kind of find those homes, but Jeremy Abissier is someone I'll watch out for as well.
Yep. All right, I'll give you my five. I liked your list a lot, and I've got Jeremy Abobasay on mine as well, for many of the same reasons that you have. Just didn't work out in San Jose for him, unless he resigns with them. But I would hope for his sake he doesn't. Although, well, with Bruce Arena, maybe it would be a good fit to resign, but
Yeah.
maybe just a new team will help him out because he started well there. Another one I'm looking at is Johnny Russell. Actually, he was really good for SKC, but I think it's time for him to move on. Time for a new team as well, and also just a new coach. Like it just feels
Yeah.
very stale for Johnny Russell in MLS. I don't know if he's returning. I doubt it. I feel like it's time, and he's a player that I like. I don't think he should be similar to Facu Torres. I don't think he should be the guy, just because he's not at that level. But he is a quality player who can join an attack and do really well. So I like Johnny Russell. Raheem Edwards, he was declined. He had his option declined. And, we've seen him do really well in the league. We've also seen him have his struggles in the league. So I think he's someone who a team could take a flyer on, especially if they want to use that left back as a more adventurous left back who's willing to get forward, kind of like how Orlando does, and there are many teams that do. So I think Raheem Edwards would be a good free agent to look at. I've got Alexander Ring in the midfield from Austin FC, uh, and he's a pretty good player in the league, pretty solid player. Don't make him your guy, but you know, take him off the bench, be that third central midfielder who you can rely on, or no, maybe he is your second midfielder. I don't think he should be the guy though. And then my last one is more of like just a solid backup striker for a team that's already got a pretty good attack. Corey Burke, he's had his struggles in New York for New York Red Bulls over the past couple seasons, just because they're not a good attack. But I really think that he could do well in a team that attacks more regularly. He is getting up there in age, but I feel pretty confident that he could be a good player for a team with a good attack, a good like secondary option.
Yeah, I looked at Raheem Edwards as well. Like I feel like it's a guy that you can fit at the wingback spot or a wing, and you just there's like depth signings you need a versatility, and he had some pretty solid years in LA, and it would be cool to see him kind of get back into a role that fits him and a team that's better for him. So I like that shot. I was thinking about that as well. And one more I thought of when you said Johnny Russell was Tim Melia.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting old, but like he still probably can provide a year or two more of starting. I don't know if San Diego has like their starter yet, so like a team like that like could use like a stopgap starter to kick things off. Like I still think he has something to provide before becoming a backup. So I'm sure he would maybe stay in the league more likely than Russell. Maybe Russell goes back to Scotland. But yeah, I would be interested to see if Russell could get on a team and like have like a little bit of like I feel like a lot of people that watch a league forget how dominant Russell was when he first joined SKC. So it'd be cool to maybe where he goes somewhere and is like a backup, but then like finds ways to score like 80th minute game winners like fresh off the bench. Like it'd be a cool role for him to kind of end his mark on the league. So I think that would be. I mean, he's got his green card at this point. I'm sure. He's not an international
I'm
spot,
almost
and
positive he does. Yeah.
yeah, so he's probably a valuable spot, and especially he's probably not going to be asking for a lot at this point.